One of the great things about WordPress is that it's open source software, which means that anybody can write plugins or design themes for it. And that guarantees that WordPress is going to have a massive selection of plugins offering all sorts of functionality and plenty of themes to choose from. Different designs, different look and feel, different ways of doing things. But it's a bit of a double-edged sword because while you've got tons of choice, it also means that sometimes the programmers who are actually developing these aren't the best in the world, and security might not be their first concern. Now, here's a plugin which, at the time of creating this video, about a month ago, a security vulnerability came to light with this plugin, MailPoet. And if you look here, 50,000 sites hit by the problem. Now, just scrolling down this news story here, in this paragraph, it says here, a new version of MailPoet was released on the same day the researchers published a blog post on it, but it seems news of its arrival has not reached all users, as many are still using unpatched versions. Now, that's the problem with WordPress, in that a bug can be discovered, and you can have developers out there who are very, very conscientious, and as soon as they're made aware of it, they will update their software, create a patch, release a new version, and that whatever loophole was in there has been closed off. But the problem is, it relies on the end user, the person who's got the WordPress site, to actually update that plugin or theme on their site. So if they're not checking in the back end regularly, or have some other means of informing them that an update's necessary, then days or weeks or sometimes even months can go by with that out-of-date plugin just sitting there with the vulnerability in it that anybody could take advantage of. So how do you get around this? Within WordPress, there is actually the ability to update plugins and themes automatically. However, by default, that's something that's switched off, and the only thing that's going to get updated automatically is the main core software itself. And as long as it's just a point release within a major version, for example 3.8.0 would automatically update to 3.8.1 and then 3.8.2, etc. As long as it's just a minor update, it will update automatically. What it won't do is it won't update from, let's say, version 3.9 to version 4.0, or version 4.1 to 4.2. So that's something you'd have to do yourself, and the reason they've got that is that the minor updates tend to be security fixes, whereas the major ones are usually introducing new features, and sometimes those features and the plugins are not always compatible and they don't want to break your site. So that's the reason for that, but it is possible to switch on the automatic updates to plugins and themes from within wp-config.php, and on the WordPress codex, on configuring automatic background updates, it tells you here about how you can add, filter, auto-update plugin, set that to true, and do the same with theme and set it to true. And as I say, you can put that in your wp-config.php file, and all the details on how to do that are on this page. So if you just do a simple search on Google for that. However, scrolling further down the page, you'll see that it talks about a conflict with WP CLI. And basically, if you apply these filters, you could have problems. So that's not really maybe the best way to actually do it, even though it's going to work as long as if you don't use WP CLI. There is an easier way, and it's the method that I use. And there's a plugin out there called WP Updates Settings, and all you need to do, just install that on your site, which I've done on this site here. And if you go to settings, you've got a new entry here for updates. So if you choose that, you'll get the update notifications. It's got the ability to switch on or off your update notifications. So that's switched on. Here's the core updates. So I'm saying yes, I want the core updates done, but don't do the major updates. plugin and theme updates? Well, yep, I want my plugins updated, and yes, I want my themes updated. So all I need to do now is click on Save Changes, and any plugins which are on this site will now automatically be updated, which means that if a security problem crops up with one of the plugins, a vulnerability is discovered, and the author of that plugin releases an update, my site will be automatically updated as soon as that's released. And I highly recommend that you try out this plugin, because it could save you an awful lot of time and an awful lot of trouble. Because believe me, if you get your site hacked and you have to fix it yourself, it can be both time consuming and expensive. So this is a great way to make sure that your plugins and themes are always up to date.